Hi, welcome to the Karen Mitches podcast. Today we have Rena Taylor.
What is up? Hello, Karen. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for coming. How are you doing today?
Today is good. We're in Toronto and we're out of a cold snap. So today is feeling like springtime, which should be scary for January, but I'm feeling really good about not having to wear a heavy coat. So that's a definite plus. And
Yes.
pretty productive. What can I say? Productive for a Friday.
So you were just telling me about your job,
Yeah.
and I don't like some of these jobs. I feel like people are making them up now.
Yeah. I am. No. I'm not comfortable with myself not having employment. No. No, it sounds made up. Every time I try and explain it to people, they're like, yeah, but what's your like job title? And it's like bilingual program lead. That's the official title. I'm a bilingual program lead. But it sounds made up when I explain what the heck that is.
It gets more made up as we go into it.
Yeah, the lie becomes more elaborate. And I'm fooling everyone, baby. Even my employers, they keep sending me fat stacks of cash. And my job isn't even real. Living the absolute dream, I think, is what I'm saying. Would you like me to explain it?
I do.
Yeah, so I work for a nonprofit organization that was started out of Rotman School of Business at University of Toronto. But they teach integrative problem solving to kids, which is like a series of tools and processes to kind of like take kids out of thinking that solutions are like binary. And so we help them use integrative problem solving to come up with new solutions. Because, in a world where people are like, you gotta do it this way or one way, we would like to have children and students and teachers that are like, oh, maybe we could actually like problem solve, or that would be cool, and we could come up with new solutions.
It also sounds amazing because I feel like frequently I read some article about something bad that's happened with kids or schools or something, and then the comments are just like, everyone's violent now. The teachers are being attacked. The children have no respect. Everyone is a monster. The end is nigh.
And it's true. They're all literal monsters. School is very different now, guys. The teachers are ghouls. Yeah, it's like, but we love to hyperbolize. We love to make problems seem bigger. And there are like problems that existed that never existed before due to like new technologies, due to a lot of different things. Like I just heard, and this is actually on the way over here, I heard that ChatGPT has officially launched like a help, like therapy, like iteration of their platform.
What could go wrong with that?
Nothing. I love taking jobs from therapists and then like essentially just like dumping out bottles of water for a ChatGPT to do it. I'm like, no, not that human being, man. Give that water to the machine. Build one in Ontario. We already have one in Montreal. We've got a data center there. So like, let's keep it going. Let's give it our water. We have too much, right? Too much fresh water here in Canada. I just want to give it to machines. I'm so excited for the future. It's really good.
If we don't waste it all, the Americans will just come and take it.
Yeah, and we need that kind of. That's our elbows up. Is like, no one gets water now. You're all screwed. That's pretty much Doug Ford's platform. Like, let's be real. Sorry, Pug Ford. I mispronounced his name there. Yeah.
He does have a bit of a
little pug. I just wish he had less power like a pug, you know? Like, if we just had a pug that was on the podium and it's just like, rah, and we're like, look at our freaking premier. He's so cute. I love that guy. Then I'd understand anyone liking him in Ontario. I'd be like, I can't hate him. I can't say mad at him. He's a little pug. Like, yeah. So yeah, I teach problem solving to kids, and then I developed a lot of content surrounding like well-being. So you can tell why I'm like psyched that ChatGPT is telling kids how to be well.
Oh my God.
I think it'll be really good. I think that they'll, there's nothing better than going to consult a machine for a problem that you have between another human being and yourself. I think that that's the way it should be. Yeah, we should just stop talking to each other.
Everything interfaces through the machine.
Yeah. I'm like, can you kindly direct your questioning to the machine? That's like Carolyn Levitt. That's what's gonna happen for the White House is just gonna be like, say it to the machine. Thank you very much. Don't look me in the eyes. It's good. The future's good. I feel good.
Is your educational background like psychology or social work?
It's actually, I have a teaching degree. I'm an Ontario certified teacher, which is probably really scary, and I probably won't get jobs in the field after, these fun interviews. But no, I'm a certified teacher. And then before this, I worked more in the corporate world for a couple of big names, and I taught people skills within the corporate world. What some people refer to as soft skills, but I refer to it as like human skills, so that you can talk to human.
Base level human skills for like tech and finance people?
Yep. Or media. You don't know who even in Canadian media doesn't know how to talk to human beings.
Oh shit. I was generalizing and assuming.
I know, and I made it specific. I was like, I can talk about generalizations, and I go right to the source. I'm not saying what media company. We're having a great time. But yeah, I had to teach it to like grown adult men and be like, no, emotional intelligence is important for these reasons. Like retaining staff, if you want humans to stay.
I loved when I was at a big company and they would have like all this programming for like soft skills. And I think I took an etiquette course. I took like improv for salespeople, even though I wasn't in sales. Like, if there was like a reason to get out of my job for an hour and learn something.
100%. And I know that like, when you're the facilitator and someone making that content, you're deeply aware that that's going to be like a lot of people are like, oh, I just didn't want to do my job. And then it's nice to like sneak information on them, like, boom, you didn't come here expecting to learn anything, and now you've learned how to more effectively coach your boss. Like, I love sneak learning. That's like,
was there ever a point with your teaching that you taught children?
Yeah, like throughout I've taught ages, like been the instructor, created the programming for ages between, I say like 4 to 65. I've taught like all of those different age groups. Yeah, in one way or another.
What's your favorite age? 37.
Yeah, I like give them, I want them to have their ideas so ingrained. And then me have to come in and be like, maybe we could gently not think that way. Or maybe I could show you a different perspective that you could adopt. I think because it was the most difficult that I had taught, I really love teaching like 10 years old, around like the 10 or about like, because a lot of the like when I was in like teachers college, a lot of people were or a lot of women, because it's so predominantly women, there are a lot of great men that are teaching, wonderful, but there are not a lot of men that feel compelled to do the helping the helping professions, as we've noted in this world, and so a lot of the women, especially because I was doing, I did like theater in school, and then I did like my French, all of that, because my teachables are theater and French, so that's why I'm working in bilingual education, all that fun stuff. But yeah, 10 was like, it was an age that they're not quite in middle school, and my teachable years are middle school into high school, and I'm so much more of like a high school teacher. And so at 10 years old I was like, it's kind of just below what I like teaching. But I learned that it was like this really poignant part of development that I call the disillusionment phase, where kids all of a sudden are like, I'm not a kid, I don't play baby stuff, I'm not a baby anymore, I'm double digits. And they think they are so grown, and it's adorable, but also it's a really cool spot for you as like whether it's like camp counselor, whether you're like facilitator or instructor within something that's like within an educational institution or outside of it. It's a real era of like, you get to start showing them what level of respect they can meet. So when they're like, I'm not a baby, instead of being like, you are a baby, you're still little, you can just be like, oh, for sure. So if you're like, maybe you'd like to get engaged in this, like you can, it's a tipping point to get kids to be interested in more things. So I liked instructing at that age because they're at a risk of not wanting to play anymore. And you can show them the adult version of play and also of like challenging yourself. And not like full adult, but like you can start to just ingratiate them with a bit more level of respect or expectations. And it's so cool to watch them meet that. Not in a way that you're like stressing out kids, but it's like, oh, if you know what to do, maybe you can help so-and-so out, like a younger kid. And you'll watch them. They're like, oh, fine. But then they'll do it and have a blast doing it. So it's a cool coming out of the age of innocence. And kids are really susceptible, so it's nice to feel like a good role model. Yeah. As much as you can. I hope I am.
And then I think you're still a couple years before. Like, I feel like grade 7, 8 is like, you have to have a special skill set. Yeah. Or like willingness for someone to like fuck with you.
You have to be able to deal with clapback, which honestly, like, I think it has lent so much. Like, I'm not afraid of hecklers.
Yes. If you can teach grade 7 and 8, you can do comedy.
Yo, if you can take the clapbacks that come in, like, and just as like I'm not calling kids idiot, like, but just as unfounded, maybe that's a better way of putting it, as like the comments that you hear on stage, like, well, you're dumb or whatever. Like you hear that in an audience, and it's the same as like a 10-year-old that's pissed off that you gave him a bad grade, you know? It's like, you didn't like my joke. You see the same level of insecurity in adults. You feel insecure that you don't know what's happening right now. Yeah. And like, I can either chirp on you right back, which I can't do in a classroom. So it kind of lets me like let loose. Or I can treat you with the same level of respect as like a 10-year-old, you know. That's
I feel like you could teach a heckling workshop. Like how to handle a heckler. Because you would, like, a lot of comics know, but maybe they don't know how to explain it, or they wouldn't, I feel like you would have the concepts around it, like.
It would be a teachable moment. Like, I'd be like, how to deal with hecklers if you want to, like, school them. Not, like, maybe not if you want to, like.
Okay, that's a sketch idea.
Be like, okay, pause. Just from what I'm observing right now, like, and from the tone of your voice, like, I'm just be like unleashing on people. I think a lot of people are very skilled at like keeping it then funny and light. I'm not always the best woman for keeping it funny and light. Because I'll tell you what I really feel. And no one wants to hear what a neurospicy woman with a strong sense of justice really feels. People really don't like that.
That's so well said.
Thanks. Whoa.
I do want to see that though.
It would be, I can write that sketch. That's a fun thing of like what you play around with. There's so many instances where there's something where I'm like, frig, I don't know how I would fit that into any kind of stand-up that I'm doing. But I can write a sketch about that. And that's where it's just like, you take those premises, you're like, yoink, that's going to go into the sketch file now. Nothing ever dies. You never have to.
Oh, yeah, because you have more formats to, like, express. Yeah. And you started out in sketch?
Yeah, I would say much more. So, like, actually, my first, like, foray into comedy was improv. In high school, though, there's this thing called Canadian Improv Games, which I'm sure there's many people, many of your listeners all across the globe that know of Canadian Improv Games. But no, it's like a formatted kind of like improv sport. Like, it's treated like a competition, all that kind of stuff. So that was like my foundations in improv, and that I really got into. So I've been doing comedy, I guess, since I was like 14.
Nice.
and did that and was the captain. So I was really cool in school, I think. Yeah, really, really, really chill, really cool. And then went into school for theater. Lost my love of performance through that as standard.
Shit.
You know,
What school were you at?
I was at York University. And
What
yeah.
what made you were you by chance there when Amanda Custodio was there?
Yeah. Amanda was a
Did
year
she
younger than me.
bully you into hating?
No. Amanda had not. I think Amanda was formed before that, but I think that Amanda can attest to like. I'm sure that York helped form her into being able to be the feisty,
hilarious.
gloves up
I
in a
said
good
that
way.
completely as a joke.
No, I'm sure.
She's like a very skilled roast battler.
Yeah. And I'm sure that was just like what you heard from the other students. Because everyone's like the biggest, it's like everyone's a big fish in their small pond.
Okay.
And they all come into a program with big fish egos.
Yeah.
And I think that was a big turnoff. Also, we just didn't really do that much in comedy. And I was doing more traditional theater acting to go more into I wanted to be Parker Posey, essentially. I'm like, I want to be a comedic actress.
Yeah.
I want to be the weirdo.
Which, by the way, that's such a good hero to pick.
Thank you.
She was one of the first actors I really loved as when I was starting to film on a probably when I was around 12, 13, that age of just being this, nobody could be cooler than this person.
This party monster. See it,
yes.
and you're like, there she is. There she is. I want to be exactly like her. So you got into comedy and stuff around 12 and 13?
Or
around
that was
acting?
just when I was starting to like movies and have a bigger appreciation for them. But anyway, so you were at York wanting to be a real actor.
Yeah, I think I wanted to be a storyteller within whatever capacity that meant. And then I got into theater school, and maybe it was everyone's self-seriousness within it. And I think I'm just, again, I don't know what to attribute it to, but maybe a bit of a troll in that way. I love taking the craft seriously and what we're doing. I don't like taking myself seriously.
Yeah.
That's a big distinction for me. And it's not that I don't believe in myself and my own ability. I just think that the education, the educator side of me rules out a bit more of you always have more to learn.
Yeah.
So don't try not to speak like an authority willy-nilly, or just I don't know, start going to mics and then the week later call yourself a stand-up comedian. Maybe don't try and identify and fully claim that you're I am now this, which is I err on the side of over modesty, I think, in that way, but definitely I think just giant egos are just ew, that's so ugly. Do you not see how your inside ugly is showing?
Yeah. No, I remember my friend had this thing because her brother's friend said something as an athlete, and then gave his opinion, but she's but he's not an athlete. We went around for years just being as an athlete.
And I'm sure he's one of those when we're when I've taught confirmation bias, the amount of men, we always share the statistic of how many men think that they could beat Serena Williams
at tennis. Oh my god. Okay, I want to go back to the York program because Amanda was telling me how they wouldn't let her be funny at all in it.
No.
And it was but I always remember high school drama classes, which was what as much as I did, that even if we were putting on a serious play, we were always having a lot of fun. It was a very funny environment.
Totally.
The teacher was fun. The students were fun with each other.
It's meant to be about truly drama. I'm saying this speaking as a drama educator, from a drama educator perspective, it's supposed to be about collaboration.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be about play. It's supposed to be about effective storytelling. It's supposed to be about performance techniques. Just can you be heard? Are you enunciating properly? Are you, are you employing your own critical thinking skills to think about what it would be like to be in this person's shoes? And nowhere in that is it like, in order to be a serious actor, you can never be funny. You have to be serious. It's like people went into like method acting of being actor and then never stepped out of that role, is what it felt like for a lot of theater creators.
But then it's killing me that you also mentioned the Serena Williams thing, because I've had this I was thinking about this earlier today when I went to the grocery store, which is like the only thing I did before you came over today. I remember I was thinking, like, there's this kind of guy who thinks it might be like men are funnier than women, or they're taller than women, or they're cooler than women, or whatever it is.
All of them.
Therefore, I am more this than every single girl. So it's like they'll meet you and be like, I'm funnier than you, I'm cooler than you, I'm taller than you. And it's like easy to be taller than you, but not funnier or cooler.
Wow, Karen, shots fired. Team, I am 5'2.5". I round up to 5'3". I'm very attacked right now. You can't see how short I am because but like, dang. Yeah, Karen, everyone can say that they're taller than me, okay? I'm literally the smallest person in the world. Unbelievable. No, bias is crazy, yo. Men's bias is crazy. And we see it so much in comedy. Yeah. We see, like, a man will just default assume that he's funnier than you. And, like, crossed arms back of the room at a mic being like, she could never crush this mic like I did. It's a mic. It's a mic. We're all there to, like, work on our stuff. You're not trying to, like, I'm sorry, dick measure to one another at one of those spaces. That's rehearsal, yo. That's a dress rehearsal.
And why is it that people masculinize being funny? Because
we're terrifying if they admit that we're actually funnier too.
Yeah.
We're terrifying.
And like stand-up comedy is still a form of theater. And like I know initially it was just tell a joke, but I think since the 70s it's been share from your life, which sounds deeply feminine to me. So why would we still insist that it's like for the cool guys?
Because storytelling's for women and men go and murder it. They murder, they crush, they whatever violent action on stage. It's like I think that it's not that it is, but exactly to your point, as these spaces, it's being approached as though everyone needs to do that to be doing comedy properly. You know, it's not storytelling. I heard that so much over the pandemic. Or like, oh, where's the punchline? Like, bump-a-dump-a punch, like, set up punchline is even in itself, like, that was a formula that, again, like, started more in the 70s. And then I feel like men like to be authorities on things, so they decided that's the way you do it. And then they just hold that as the standard of what an actual art form is, that really is like, if you went on stage and made people laugh, you're doing comedy. And that's why I like being in these other realms of like sketch comedy, because it is scripted comedy.
Yeah.
We're putting, you know, like you're putting thought into it, you're putting it up, and you'll still see stand-ups be like, but that's not real comedy. Like there's even like, I have enjoyed almost taking an intersectional approach to comedy and seeing what spaces and places are valued themselves and what are devalued. And I think that stand-up comedy is the one where you have to be the least vulnerable, or like you can be the least vulnerable if you're doing the whole approach of like, I'm not actually going to talk about anything real. For me, I'm just doing jokes because that's my job. I'm just supposed to be funny.
Yeah.
And that's like, to me, it's just, that's a form of comedy, but I think we need to normalize like just calling these like, that's a way you can do stand-up. That's a way you can do that, and because it's allowed them to feel like they're authorities when people aren't sticking to the same, in my opinion, sometimes tired formats and scripts of how to do this stuff.
Because I think the thing with if you just do jokes, people say like, well, first off, it's very easy for people to steal your jokes because they're not rooted in yourself. Yeah. But also like it's easy to not be able to tell you apart from another comedian because everybody has like a 9/11 joke, and if it's in no way tied back to you, like how do I remember you from 40 other guys who are on stage?
That's the $1 million question right there, isn't it, Karen? That's what our dear producers at different comedy institutions have to navigate through every day. How do I tell these 40 white men apart? And so we are grateful that we're not in their positions of needing to try and determine it. But no, I think that it's like, in the same way that like, I not to shift it. I'm not just trying to bring in heated rivalry or anything, but I played like ringette more so, but like hockey as well. And similarly, these are not ringette. Everyone calls that a girl sport. That's why you're allowed to do it.
Ringette has been so devalued.
It's been so devalued. And I was like, yeah, being a national, we didn't win the national, we went to a national championship as like the Ontario representatives.
And like when I was growing up, there was no girls hockey team anywhere. No. So like the rough girls played ringette. I still believe it to be a very tough sport.
Totally. It's hard, and it's like those spaces are like just because men said women couldn't do it. And then when they pivot, it's like, oh, you're playing a girl sport. It's like, oh, because like I just think that you have to, that's oppression, right? Like not to like spin it so serious, but like you have to devalue what other people are doing if it threatens you having a monopoly on the space. And we need to remember that like in Shakespearean times, women weren't allowed on the freaking stage.
Yeah.
It was a bunch of guys in wigs because they know that we would be able to do heartfelt storytelling. And they know that previous cultures and anything outside of that Eurocentric view of what performance is had storytellers that were of any different like background or gender or whatever.
And then for a long time when after women did start acting on stage, it was it was such a maligned profession for women. Like you were seen as like close to a prostitute.
Oh, totally. I was going to say a worse word, so thank you. Yeah, like how could you want like that? It was like immodest to want that level of attention on you, but it's totally chill when a bravado man does it.
But a lot of stuff when women do it, it's like if they have power through it, it's like, oh well, you're a fucking nerd.
Yeah, and like, how many, like the whole Inquisition in terms of like the witch hunts, things of that nature. It's like women were gathering and talking amongst themselves and sharing information. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, you're a witch, you're like killer, burner, drowner, whatever. Oh, actually, there's a bunch of tests you can do. It's just to silence people. But what's fun about that is like, or what I've learned as I get older, I feel like they wouldn't try and suppress you and your voice if it weren't effective and if it weren't appealing to people and if you didn't feel threatened. So like that behavior still exists, of course. That's misogyny, that's the patriarchy. But like now I think that the more that we're able to empower one another and recognize that and be like, we're not even like trying to appeal to men anymore of like, women are funny, see, look at this joke that I have. It's more like, oh, we just don't need to include you in those spaces. And like, it just matters less what you think. So sure, we're not funny if that makes Jim Bob sleep better at night, He's like, no, I was the funny one. I was the funny one. And women aren't even funny.
So, York was where you lost your love of performance.
Yeah, I would say so. But gained my love of education more so. And like kind of started to see the parallels between like I think it informed my comedy in a way that I'm really happy about. Where yes, you can do it just for art's sake. But I think that's where I developed much more of like, what am I actually saying? Because like in a classroom, you're thinking about what you're saying. There's always has to be like the metacognition, the thinking about thinking that's brought into it. So it just allowed me to kind of like draw on like, oh, as I got back into comedy, which definitely I did York. Then I went to Humber for arts administration and cultural management, just like a postgraduate, because I wanted to work in the non-profit field. And I love all of the incredible people that are doing such good work within that field. But I kept coming against like antiquated ways of doing things and a lot of arts people that are like, I don't know numbers. And I'm like, well, one of us has to know numbers. Like, oh my God. I guess I got to do it in my postgrad so that someone knows like how to put things together, or that I can bring that know-how. And then that's where I interned for Toronto Sketch Comedy Festival, who I still work with, doing more work in the background. And then went to work for Just for Laughs, and that brought me to Montreal, and Montreal was actually where I started doing stand-up comedy and started doing sketch more like concretely, and started doing improv weekly, which certainly isn't the case in Toronto.
So when you were like in school and you got that internship, were you already like into sketch comedy?
I was definitely like, I think that I had felt, I'm one of those, you know, a lot of performers are, I'm very critical of myself. I'm very hard on well, actually, no, we just talked about Jim Bob that calls himself an artist after 2 weeks of mics. So I'm similar to a lot of women I meet in comedy, or, you know, the she, theys, and gays that aren't prioritized, where we're pretty critical of like whether we can be considered something. So I think that when I took that internship with Just for Laughs, I was very like, okay, I'm going to go the producing route, because I don't think I'm a performer. I don't think that I've got that in me.
Oh, okay.
Like I just like maybe, yeah, I think that I told myself I was just too sensitive to rejection, or maybe it just was, I felt like I was being pigeonholed into trying to go out for roles that were like of the leading roles, but I'd never be hot enough for the leading roles. And I wasn't allowed to be like a weirdo. I just wasn't like, didn't feel like that was, yeah, all the roles that I was getting in terms of stuff that I was auditioning for throughout like university felt like that. So I think I was just kind of like, you know what, that's okay. I don't need to be a performer.
Yeah.
But I want to be involved in these worlds. And I love Canadian like creative industries, and I love the creators. And I always saw myself surrounded by so much talent. And then Toronto Sketch Comedy Festival was like, when I worked there, Bruce McCullough did an interview with Paul Feig. So I met Paul Feig. You know, like you're surrounded, and I'm like, I want to be in this world. I'm so excited by this world. Maybe I'll just do it from the working behind the scenes kind of element of it. And then when I moved to Montreal, it was like, oh, I'm seeing performers and everyone on stage, and you just get that itch, or you get that feeling that everyone describes, where you're like, I want to be back on stage. I would love to. I felt like I was jumping out of my chair when I would go and see performers that really lit me up. And like working for Just for Laughs, you see a lot of really, really skilled stand-ups, and you meet a lot of them, and you talk to them about the industry.
Yeah.
And that was also like going on a big old tangent, but there is definitely, working for Just for Laughs, I met people who were like, you're funny. And it was like names and people that I looked up to or saw them perform, and it's not like, oh my God, so-and-so said this. That's why I'm not naming names, but it's like, they'd just be like, and you're on stage too, right? And you're like, oh, no, I'm just in the background, I'm just staff. And they're like, you should probably do this. And when you have enough people, like the modesty just kind of loses out a little bit more. And you're like, oh, really? Okay, I guess so. You know, entire entourage of people or whatever. Of like a known star. So you're like, damn, okay, maybe I'm being really crappy to myself, and maybe I could do this just as much as Jim Bob, you know? Yeah.
And then did you love the Montreal scene?
I love, it's so funny. There's so many weird things that are happening in that scene now. So like I love to, not love to hate. It's just, the Anglo part of it is so small that you can get really weird cliques and tensions that still exist within that 100%.
Do you speak French well enough to do, like, have you ever tried to do stand-up in French?
I've never done stand-up in French, but I absolutely, it's again one of those things where I'm like, no, the Francos would kill me and say I'm not a Franco girl. But no, I teach, like, I speak fluently. Yeah.
Do you have any French heritage?
No, not really. It's so...
Do people in Quebec assume you're Quebecois?
Everyone in Toronto assumes that I am from Montreal.
Okay.
It's been the ongoing joke with my friends. The amount of people... Because that's where I was working in comedy in Toronto before I left, right? Like, I was already in the sketch worlds, and some people knew me from that, and I was already in the theater world. So I was like actively an artist in Toronto, but then I went to Montreal. That's where I started doing stand-up. And now still to this day, someone's like, our next comic, she moved here from Montreal. We love her so much. Give it up for Rena Taylor. And it's like, guys, I was there for 3 years. I lived there for 3 years total. And everyone's just like, she's a Montreal lady.
That's hilarious. There's a thing, like, because I'm from London, Ontario, where a lot of people, like, they move to Toronto for, like, 2 years for work and then go back to London and get a better job just because, like, you worked in Toronto. And so I
so
feel
bougie.
like, and I think Toronto, like, Torontonian people think Montreal is cooler and, like, more artistic. So if you are an artist from Montreal, it's like an elite.
That's so nice. That's so kind.
Yeah.
It's actually because I'm really cool and artistic. It's not because no one knows who the heck I am still to this day. Which my modest side is like, thank God. Yeah. She's like, oh, don't let them know me. Then I'll have to speak to them.
Did you watch stand-up at all in French?
Yeah. No, what was cool is like Theatre St. Catherine, which was kind of like the home base that I was out of for a lot of things. They would have like a lot of their programming. There's such a bilingual theater that their programming could be like, you know, some troupe coming in. Like we would have like Montreal Sketch Fest that was there, so you'd have like a bunch of like predominantly Anglo, but then that was a bilingual festival as well, so I'd see like sketch in French, and then the next week it would be like an entire lineup of like French stand-ups that were doing their like 30 minutes or something like that. So yeah, I was exposed to a lot of different incredible like stand-ups in French. Then also I was exposed to like Quebec. Maybe we know it from our laws here, maybe we don't. There's a lot of work to do in terms of racism. So there's a lot of like stand-up in French that I was like, wow. And it's not different.
What's the deal with other people having their own culture?
Exactly. And like, no, I'm allowed to wear my cross. I'm allowed to wear my cross and it can be visible, but don't you dare wear a headdress. It's like that kind of stuff. Just like, whoa, we don't, no religious symbolism. I guess we have to take the cross down on Montreal. Like, I guess you have to take it down from the Department of Justice. Like,
is
girl.
that where it is?
Well, there's like a big cross that's there. I don't know if that was kind of, but it's like all of those things where like it's steeped in Catholic imagery and like the religion itself. And I think that some people are so ingrained into that mindset they can't really like see that for what it is. So they're like, oh yeah, we're making everything equal.
It's funny, like for that, it's not funny, but like when that aspect of Quebec started to surface, it was jarring for me because like the artists I know out of Quebec are very much the opposite. And I think Quebec culture has a lot of like anti-religious, like people who didn't like the way the church ran the province for 300 years and a lot of rebellion against that.
Totally.
You think of like, I guess everyone I know is an Anglophone, so I feel bad saying it, but like you think of like Leonard Cohen as like the most famous Montrealer, and then when you get into this kind of like you shouldn't be able to wear like a hijab if you work for the government, that's crazy to me.
Totally. And it's something that's a phenomenon across Canada that I don't like. I'm sure you can kind of attest to this with like, not that it's rural spaces. Like I grew up in a rural space. I love the country. Yeah. I'm surrounded by a lot of salt of the earth, like incredible farmers that really do feed cities. I have so much value on a lot of people that choose to not be in more populated areas. But what that does risk is lack of exposure to different cultures and to different people. And that can lead to fear. And fear makes people act in hateful ways at times in order to kind of either not expose themselves as being ignorant to the situation, or it's where they can direct their energy in a way that they feel like they can do something about it. So I think that there's a huge difference between like people that are based out of Montreal and drawn to it, similar to like Toronto or other bigger centers, versus what you can come across in more rural spaces or we have these huge cities and then so much space, and we also as people who live in the city, we forget that it's like we have the concentration of the population, but there are people everywhere with very different ideas and very different level of exposure, and it's just all it's why there needs to be more representation. It's why like Canadian media needs to take bigger risks in terms of who and what they're representing and where. You know, like it can't be that every storyline that's being put forward is, you know, that's featuring a family that isn't white. They can't all be set in Toronto, man.
Yeah.
Because that's what leads people to thinking like, oh yeah, but that's how it is there. And it's like, yeah, but we our country is made up of so many different people and so many different walks of life, and you know, yeah, and then you'll get different level of hate towards different level of groups, and I think that to me is always just an indication of it. And I say this with the most love and as an educator, but like ignorance. It's just like it's an indicator of ignorance on one level or another, right?
Yeah.
Because like, and it shows up in Montreal. Like, you know, I love Montreal Canadiens. I do like hockey. I do like sports and stuff sometimes. Not football, because that's so dumb. I hate that sport. Oh, they stopped again because someone touched the other. Whatever. Oh yeah, let's stop play. Oh, you ran like 50 yards. You must be tired. I don't know. But like, I like the Canadians, but like PK Subban was a really, you know, it's a horrific kind of demonstration of what black athletes, especially within hockey or in the Montreal area, like he just experienced so much like aggressive racism too. So it's something we have to be so mindful of in Canada. There's no place that's doing it better. We just all have to be intersectional in our approaches and mindsets.
I do kind of think it's like everyone has their ways of being racist and sexist, but we find other people's ways more
egregious.
Yeah. Because we're used to our thing.
Totally. I'm like, you know, there are so many moments as like a white woman where I'm presented like, oh, I think that way because I'm white. You know, like, whoa, you know, like there we are, a little bit of ingrained stuff, and it's so much easier to see in other people, right?
Oh,
yeah. And then you're like, oh, I gotta eat some crow. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, what about just like arts? Because you've been in the arts administration stuff, when you compare like how it is in Quebec to how it is in Ontario.
Oh, it's so hard to get funding for with Quebec. It's so weird because the space in between is bilingual stuff. So like when I was working for Montreal Sketchfest, it was so hard to get funding because it's like, yes, we have like Anglo funding for Anglophones that are in Quebec, and then of course, like, you know, majority of the arts, and Quebec has a really good internal star system. They really pump up their own.
Yeah.
They have more shows coming out of Quebec than any other province or space. They take more chances on one another. But there's a lot of risk for French, right? And there's like the funding goes to French, which makes sense because it's about preservation of the culture through the language as well. So it's really hard to find stuff for bilingual, like people that are trying to bridge the gap between the two languages. Like they're like, oh, we don't care. It's like, yeah, you have your little Anglo fund, and yeah, we have our French fund. What? Bilingual? Like pick a side. Like that's what it feels like. So that was so weird. And then here in Ontario, I think that it's like, I don't know, funding's really interesting in all of Canada as well. Like I think now 10 years later, we've only just figured out what like funding for media looks like, even though that was like newly factored into the whole like granting system and everything in 2015. But it's only now that they're like, oh, maybe that should go to like TV shows or like independent productions and stuff like that, and we're getting more like seed grants and whatnot for those kind of things, whereas before it's like, not that it isn't important work, but they're like, we've granted it to the museum so that they can make their archives digital, and we've granted it to Kyle out in Whistler, who's doing tricks on his snowboard. He's getting because he's got a lot of numbers. So yeah, I think that Canadian funding is just interesting. Yeah.
Do you feel well versed in the process?
Yeah. I don't know if I'm like successful in the process, but I feel like a lot of like why I did the postgraduate in arts admin, all that stuff, was I wanted to understand like how do these systems work, you know, if and especially like how does this work with comedy? And I wrote like I've written papers, you know, on how under-supported and underfunded it is as a comedic form, and we know this and we talk about that. This was before the existence of like the Canadian Association of Stand-Up Comedy. But even that, it's like comedy is a very big field.
Yeah.
And we kind of even sub-categorize ourselves into like stand-up, sketch, that, whereas we all need to be banding together to be like, things that are created in the pursuit of bringing like joy and laughter are not less credible than dramatic undertakings.
Because I forget what it is, but someone told me this thing where like we're not considered artists.
We're not like so how it works for granting and why, if you're ever in a position where you're like being asked to sit on a committee or any kind of thing that's determining who's getting funding, if you're a comedian in those spaces, please accept those positions, because essentially it's who is internally reviewing these things. Because it will be submitted to like, let's say like something like Ontario Arts Council, OAC, and it will be a theater project. Like what we have to go out for is like travel grants for a singular artist, which are usually awarded to music, theater grants, and we're up against like major, like we're up against Stratford. We're up against Just for Laughs is one of the only comedic bodies that is funded by the Canadian government, as well as Toronto Sketch Comedy Festival. I'm sure there's other groups since I did this paper and investigated, but they're like, how many theaters are there across Canada? And also theaters that then, like, with the granting system being what it is, and with us like always looking to the States, always streaming US shows, not paying attention to our own arts, it's like we're up against major theaters that are trying not to shutter their doors. And so what ends up happening is that we don't have people that understand the work that we do in those committees making those decisions. And then we're up against these major institutions to do anything like that. So if something were to get funded for comedy, it's most likely to be Just for Laughs. Then you have to look internally, and I did, having worked there, as to where are those what is the funds distribution? What are Americans getting paid versus Canadians as visiting artists versus us as actual artists, where this is one of the only funding bodies?
Yeah.
And for the majority, we bring in a lot of visiting artists. That's the excitement about the festival, so we won't get into the politics of whether that's chill or not, but also how much are Canadian artists getting paid versus American artists?
Yeah.
And then can you legitimize that that's something that's like seeding our work? So we can go out. It's not that we're not even artists. Like that's kind of like, I think that that's like the easiest way to kind of describe it, because, oh, well, if we're not eligible for anything, clearly you don't value our work. Yeah, because people in these determining like positions don't understand our work.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, for Toronto Sketch Fest, like, I bring in the OAC theater grants rep, and he's graciously given us time to talk about what comedians, at least from a sketch comedy perspective, how we can better showcase the amount of work that goes into what we do, because we're not very good as artists in explaining why we're artists.
Yeah.
I think that's a big issue in comedy as well. And if you're going in with like a broy, nonchalant kind of demeanor about it, like, oh, I don't want to try too hard like that, then you're not going to want to call yourself an artist, and that's going to further diminish. So, and then, yeah, it's also, it's an art form that's really accessible to a lot of people. That's what I love about it.
Yeah.
But with it being really accessible to a lot of people, there is more like vetting and filtering, and kind of like, we have to make sure that it's stuff that reflects like what we want to see as Canadian arts. And I don't know if I want like weird hateful shit sometimes that goes on in a basement to be what reflects Canadian artistry, and not in a way that like I'm not filtering people's opinions. They can say it, I just don't want to plat for them. That's more where my mentality is. Yeah. So yeah. I know a lot about the funding.
I love it. It's important. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's certain people, like everyone brings different like gifts to the scene that they can help other people with. And yeah, I don't have, like, I have almost no opinions on this, because I'm just like, what is it? Like, is there money? Where would we get it?
Where would that happen? And then there's like, with what to go back to like Montreal and what kind of scene it is. I just have to address that there's a really odd phenomenon that's happening.
What's happening?
Oh my God, it's so crazy. But there's even people that are like, they themselves advocating for not getting paid, and that they think that comedians have to like prove their worth, and then they're getting like angry at other people that are suggesting you should get paid for comedy. There's like, they call themselves the comedy cult of Montreal, because people started calling them that, and then like we're owning it, and it's like, yeah, but you're advocating against pay. That's the craziest thing we've ever heard.
My God.
It's just like, oh no. It's like, you know, speaking to some people that are on the ground there, it's like, we never thought we'd have conversations with grown men of like, you need to get more confidence. Like, you actually need to start valuing your work more, because those kind of things drag it down too, right? If there's someone who's willing to do it for no pay, then we're devaluing ourselves. That's why it's really important as producers to pay your artists, like set the precedents, you know?
And I think we get into this problem of like, you go, okay, well, I'm proving myself, but then you become forever proving yourself, and there's no point that you're actually doing it for a living. And people, like, that's how you exploit people, is you go like, oh, this will lead to something else. But
totally. And this is going to be something that, like, not only will, if we start exploiting ourselves this way, then other organization and companies are going to continue to exploit us this way. Because, like, right now, was it like the Uber Eats or something, like some delivery service was like, they have a desperation meter. They have a actual internal measuring system of like, who will take jobs that no one else wants.
Oh God. And
so if we start doing that to ourselves, then we send the message to industries that we as artists are available to be undersold. And so I think that it's so important. I think also like wanting to learn the producing side is like, I want to understand how to do this in a way that also honors the artistic experience and like values it, right? Not making them like, oh, you're the stars, you know, but just how can we do this well, especially when we don't have any money ourselves? Like, what are the trade-offs? What can we do? What can you offer people? And like development, like developing one another. Like, it's like comedy stand-up. Yeah, comedy's been forced to like create like a bartering system amongst ourselves of like what we can bring. It's like, I can film your set, and it's like, and I can do this, which might lead to the dream, you know, anti-capitalism world that we want in the future. But right now we're just making it work with whatever means we have, it feels like. And it feels really with lack of support that would indicate that, yeah, the Canadian government doesn't really, I don't know if they don't see us as artists, but they certainly don't see our art as important with their money, with their dollars, or with action.
People always like sort of like the art that's already been made and deemed classic. And
we have a Stratford festival, for fuck's sake. Sorry, I shouldn't swear. We have a Stratford festival.
Oh, you can swear.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Yeah, like, every time I see a new, like, this Shakespeare production is going to be so different because this one's set in the underworld, but not quite hell, you know? And it's going to be so different because of that. This one's set in Boston. And that actually makes Romeo and Juliet. But it, like, the Canadian granting system will be like, yes, hundreds of thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars. Please take this production of an old guy from England's work. Like, Hamnet was one of the top freaking movies.
Oh my God.
We're obsessed.
It's not, and it's like, it's not that I don't respect Shakespeare, but it is like, if you just put...
I don't. I'm coming after him. No, I do.
But it's like, just putting sort of like inspired by Shakespeare is somehow that, like, a high level of art. Like, Hamnet is just somebody went like, well, if Shakespeare lost a child, that must have had an impact on him.
Yeah.
And then I'll write a story that I just entirely made up.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah. And they're
what
like,
if Sir Isaac Newton was really into butt plugs? Can I have a grant?
What do you think he fell on? It wasn't the apple falling to the ground. Sir Isaac Newton invented the butt plug by falling on a stick when he fell from a tree. That's what a lot of people aren't talking about. And it's pissing me off. It just swerves into like, all right, I don't think gravity's real. Prove me wrong. Just how men debate. I said something. Now prove that that's not real. I'll wait. Yeah. Yeah. It's it's not that I don't respect him either, but I see so much like I worked for Toronto Sketch Comedy Festival, Montreal Sketch Comedy Festival. I worked for Just for Laughs, and it's not like, oh, here's my accolades, but like then worked for Lady Fest in Montreal, started Lady Fest here in Toronto. Now kind of just doing like trying to do like, you know, you're part of the show where we did like a taping.
Yeah.
Because for me, I'm trying to pivot into like, okay, what do people actually need? Like what would actually like platform and support artists? And for me, it was like, oh, filmed stuff.
Yeah.
It's so hard to get like a decent thing filmed.
Yeah. Because that was a show, like a comedy show, but then we filmed our submissions for the Winnipeg Comedy Festival.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is a huge thing, because if you just set up your camera, like most people, if you want to send a high quality video,
totally,
with, like the proper audio. So,
and I've been a part of like the admissions panel for like those festivals as well, where when it's poor audio quality, it could be like a great joke, all of those things, but it's like this is garbled and I'm barely picking up a word. Like I've been the person on the other side that's like, I want to love what you're doing, but I am distracted by your lack of access to appropriate tools to actually be able to create the things that would be able to be distributed and make more people aware of what you do and what you work on, right? And that's kind of like in terms of like the digital granting and funding from 10 years ago, we weren't seeing like just like seed funds for people being able to like institutions being able to have like equipment that's available to us. Like if there's like a comedy cultural center where it's like what, like, you know, booths to be able to do like your voice recording stuff, or like there are other like art collectives that have these things kind of available. We just don't really have somewhere where we know to go, and I think that contributes to it becoming competitive and also feeling really like disjointed and disbanded and sometimes cliquey. Like it's just these different areas of comedy that we work within, and then we feel like we're fighting one another for whatever stage time or things we can access. Yeah.
Okay, so there was this thing in the media about like a mom group, and it was like a bunch of celebrity women who were in a mom group together. Yes.
And Ashley Tisdale.
Yeah. And then
I know this.
They got in a big fight, but it made me, I'm not a mom, but it made me think about like the way people feel about the comedy scene. Yeah. And I think sometimes when you belong to a group, you can feel like the group is letting you down. Yeah. But then I notice when I tell other people that it's like everyone feels let down by the group. And I've been thinking this a lot. It's like a group doesn't meet the needs of individuals. So it's like if you expect the group to appreciate you, that won't happen. But you can almost always within the group go up to any one person and be like, I'm feeling sad, Rena. I feel like no one supports me. And you'll be like, I support you.
Truly.
And you can always get it individually, but like if you just sort of wait for the group to help you, you'll feel alienated.
And you have to ask for it, and you have to do that vulnerable step. And I and not everyone will be kind about it, you know? Like it really is like learning your own internal boundaries of how far do you want to put yourself into that, and when do you just not be a part of a group because it's not aligning with you, or you don't feel like they move with integrity. That's probably what I've encountered more. It's like, it's not like, oh, I expect support. It's more like, oh, you just pulled some moves that really doesn't align with my values, and so I'm a not come to this writing meetup. I'm a, you know, see myself out.
Yeah.
And I think also like groupthink is another bias, right? Or it's a phenomenon of just like, oh, well, someone has a louder voice and they're kind of stating this is how everyone feels, and then everyone's like, I guess so, and generally, you know, like, we'll kind of go along with things. It can start to be like groupthink within those kind of spaces unless someone challenges that and says something. I think that people that challenge those notions, though, aren't treated very kindly quite often within the scene. That's one thing I'll say, is that, like, you know, like, comedy is pretty, it's not the worst, but it is pretty rife with, like, some shady behavior between people, and kind of what we were talking about before we started the podcast of just, like, I feel like post-pandemic we are even more in a world of avoidance. And so I think...
because I was telling Rena, I'm thinking about writing a bit about how, because I used to struggle with agoraphobia, and how the world now is such that you can just stay home if you want to. And and then she was saying just like avoidant behavior in general is easier now. And
on the rise. And people haven't learned it.
How much do we want to let avoidance become the culture?
Yeah, and the norm, and just like not saying things to one another or not bringing things up. And there are definitely times where you just kind of have to like look around and be like, oh, this is not the place where I'll actually be able to voice any of that. But I think that also I've had the experience of like bringing people's attention or awareness to something, and then seemingly 5 minutes of stage time is more important than kind of not supporting a group or person that has caused harm to other people. Like, I think sometimes we kind of pay attention to what we want to and avoid what we avoid what's difficult or presents a challenge.
Yeah.
Because if you're like, oh, I really like this space or this producer, and they give me all these, and then someone's like, hey, they did this problematic thing, it's like, well, I'm still getting stage time, so I don't think I'll challenge my behavior, and they never did anything to me.
Yeah.
So there's that can happen. I think that also causes people to have to create and form other groups or be a part of other groups, because they're also subjected to that, and people that won't speak up. And then you just have to remove yourself for your own safety or like integrity. Or there's people that don't, and then they all just hate each other and talk about it. Not all the time. And then there's other groups where like I definitely feel like more so in sketch comedy, unfortunately, I'm able to find like actual senses of community a bit better. I think that the Lady Fest stuff and doing work with that felt really, really good. And that's why I wanted to do Lady Fest stuff, because it can allow for that.
Is Lady Fest initially, is it more sketch?
No, it was and it's like one distinction, because one time someone's like, you and the whole Lady Fest team about something, it's like, it is me in Toronto. It started in Montreal, and then I wanted to open it up here. It's basically just, the most simplified iteration of it is that it's showcasing the work of the she, theys, and gays. Those who are tokenized on every other lineup of like white dudes or whatever. Not always white dudes though. Full lineups. It's like the people who are tokenized, it was a festival for them that started in Montreal. Like, I think, did they just have their 12th or 10-year anniversary? Yeah, it might have been 10 this year. Yeah, so it was in response to just like the disproportionate lineups that we were seeing. So it was stand-up, it was sketch, it was any comedic performance. And generally, I'm more of that mentality about comedy, period. There are different, and I think it's because I do so many different art forms within comedy. It's like I see comedy as like this kind of like performance style. And so, yeah, I think the whole point of the festival as well is to put comedy on an even playing ground, because even within comedy, it's just like I said, like, not everywhere, but a lot of stand-ups are like, they treat themselves like the superior comedy art form.
Yeah.
And so it's like, no, this is an evening of the playing ground on a gender or like gender spectrum, you know?
Yeah.
And it's a leveling of the playing ground on a creative medium perspective.
And I think a lot of the time it's just sort of, if you lean more to one than the other, it's not because you worked harder, it's because you just like stand up, you like doing things on your own, and sketch you like doing things as a group. And
but then there's solo sketch.
both of those have skill.
Yeah. And then I
I
did
didn't
solo
think about
sketch for a really
solo
long
sketch.
time. Yeah. Yeah. I was working on my own doing sketch.
I guess there's a lot of that on TikTok because there's a lot of like the shot scenes of like one person being every character.
Totally. I would say that most of what we see online are skits and sketches. And so that also confuses me when there's like a stand-up like, I don't like sketch, but I'm trying to get more of an online presence. It's like, well, good luck doing that without friggin' sketches. What are you gonna do? Just your stand-up into the frickin' camera?
Yeah. I was talking to someone because like I feel like a lot of stand-ups want to do some level of screenwriting, and I was talking to when Rochelle Bouchard was on here because she's done a lot of filmmaking, and she saw my screenwriting books, and she's like, you have to just make stuff because it teaches you about the format and how to write for it. And she's like, even if you're just making sketches for your socials, like that's moving you towards screenwriting.
Totally. Totally. And like, I always say this from a funding perspective, when we're up against theater, tell me the difference between my 30-minute to 60-minute sketch text script. Tell me the difference between that and a play script. Like, there is none. It's the same level of like detail. It's the same consideration, arcs, all of that.
And if you sit through like your favorite comedian's hour-long special, you're gonna, at the end of it, if I was like, was that a piece of theater? You'd be like, fuck yeah, that was, it's transcendent. It takes you on a whole journey.
Totally. And so absolutely, I would say that like sketch, it gets you closer to thinking about also different perspectives within it. Like, we might do that if you're a stand-up that is like doing personalization or voices or characters and stuff within that, but a lot of it is from like your own singular perspective. It's also good to like write as characters. You get into, and also develop and design new characters where you're not focused on like, do I have the capacity to do this, and get stuck on like, almost seeing yourself as like the actor, the tool, the external, the package. You're like, no, like, I'm dreaming up just a character that is asked to declare, or if they have anything to declare at the TSA line, and they just have a really obvious pee and poo mark on their pants. That's what they declare. Sometimes you have a really bad plane ride and inspiration comes, and sometimes you play that little man who has the pee and poo mark, right? But sometimes you offer that to someone else so that they can play Pee and Poo Man, right? What
a generous offering.
I guess my point is, of the whole podcast thus far, is I want to write Pee and Poo for you. But no, sketch helps you write Pee and Poo for other people too.
I love that.
Yeah.
But we're kind of coming to the end. Can I ask, like, what's going on with you lately? Like, is there anything you want to plug?
My doctor and I are trying to figure that out. In terms of plugging,
like, is Ladyfest doing anything?
I was like, I'm gonna do things on a quarterly. It's me. It's just like whether I have time to, or Beata also made that show happen. So I'm not gonna take full credit, but I'd like to do a quarterly taping. I'd also like to extend that to sketch troupes because they also really struggle with getting their things online. I think that's something that I feel is like a needs gap, as opposed to the full-on festival. So I think that that's where my mind is pivoting, is how we provide those. And in the interim, though, or what I'm working on presently, beyond just like writing the screenplays, writing all that stuff, I love things of that nature. Toronto Sketch Comedy Festival is coming up, and I'm the learning and fun producer. So we've been talking about developing our people. And last year we did, for International Women's Day, a pitch panel where you could come and pitch your idea and get feedback from industries, like women that were working in the industry. It was super awesome. I would love to, like, that's open to everyone. And yeah, we're going to continue to have like just a bunch of professional development opportunities within that in March, and then surrounding it. Like, last year I got like how to get an agent. This year I'd like to do how to get a writing agent. So it's really important to me. Like, I don't just bitch the bitch. I walk the bitch. And I walk the bitch to the theater where we do professional development. So a lot of professional development opportunities, and that's something that I just want to continue to extend to comedians because, as we said, none of us have money or access to money. So let's just build each other up. I think that's a really big thing for me.
That's amazing.
Yeah, let's all be heated rivalry. Yeah.
I feel like we forgot to talk about heated rivalry.
Oh my God. I could it's so beautiful. Hockey Canada and NHL are so good at lawyering themselves out of every single problematic situation they've ever been a part of. And now there have never been more eyes on the sport. So I am just so excited for my fellow radical leftists to learn more about how naughty they have been and start making all the wonderful public call outs, all of the, like, I'm seeing more sketches online about it. I love it. And I love Canadian media. And I think that we have so much friggin' talent in this.
Yeah.
This
Shout out Crave
country.
Original for producing something
Honestly.
that people keep saying is on HBO.
Yeah. And we had from like CTV programming Crave, we had someone on our panel last year. And so I know that these are people that are also paying attention to, I'm going to forget, it's Lauren, but I forgot her last name. So I'm just like, but there are such wonderful skilled people that are paying attention to. So like, let's bank on this. Let's start taking risks for one another in Canadian media and hiring one another, not waiting for a giant cast, because these were unknowns, literal, like almost unknowns, except for like that cheetah thing that Hudson Williams did, ground cheetah or land cheetah. Go look it up. It's a really good time. But those were virtual unknown actors. There's like François Renault was like one of the only known guys other than the guy from Nip and Tuck, and I don't even know his name. So let's take a chance on one another. Let's keep building each other up. Let's get connected and not be weird about it and not tell each other what an art form is, because I'm so tired.
I love it. And where can we find you on socials?
You can find me.
Reader Dog?
Yeah, Reader Dog on all platforms, but also Joy Provision is my sketch troupe, and we've got a lot of cool announcements. Also, we started a sketch show coming out of Comedy Bar in Toronto that'll be, I think, the last Saturday of every month at 7 p.m.
What's it called?
It's called Sketch Party, and each month one of the sketch troupes that's involved kind of hosts the party. So that'll be where you can see regular sketch in the city, because we'd also like to, have a little bit of familiarity or, habit, so that people know where to actually find us and what we're doing.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for coming on, Rena.
Thank you, Karen. Thanks for letting me rant about a lot of random stuff.
You're more than welcome.
Oh.